Hi everyone, welcome to Lectora Live, your inside track into Lectora. This is our pre-show. We're just getting all the shots together, making sure everybody's where they need to be, and I think we're good. We've gone through all of the shots, and everybody's got audio, and everybody sounds good. So next to me is Jennifer Valley. She is the community manager for Trivantis. We were talking earlier, she's been on the show 32 times, so this is good. I think it's like 5 or 6 already. And then right next to her is Sergey, who's also been on the show about 32 times. I think he's been on at least 5, if 6, if not. You've been on quite a few times, so it's probably 4 or 5 or 6. And now, of course, Sergey's the co-host, so he'll be on more.
I think I need a co-hosting position as well.
You want to be co-host?
We'll just switch after LUC. You can't co-host anything before LUC. You're probably so busy.
True.
And all right, so let's start the show recording right now. 3, 2, and 1. Hi everyone, welcome to Lectora Live, your inside track into Lectora. I'm Rick Zanatti, and I'm joined today by Jennifer Valley. She's an old-time guest. She's been on many, many times. And our co-host, Sergey Snegarev, who's coming to us from Latvia today. He is the CEO of Branch Track. So, good team here. Here we go. We're back, and hi Jennifer, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Other than Southern California allergies, I'm doing great.
Yeah, the same thing goes for Kentucky. They're crazy right now.
It's been bad. And everybody around here in the office and everywhere you go in this area, it's very dry out here, and we've got pollen everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's yellow stuff on the floor, on the cars, everywhere. It's like, not good, and wind. So it's a great combo. We're used to it, but this year has been worse than ever because we had the El Nino effect, which means rain for about 4 or 5 months, which we never get. So it's been a little bit different.
For sure.
So today you're going to talk about something exciting that you're involved in. I think I got mentioned in it. Several people were mentioned in it, and that's storytelling, e-learning and storytelling.
Yeah, we've got a new ebook out on the website, which should be at trivantis.com/ebooks, and it's all about the keys to storytelling. So there's lots of tips and tricks on how to add characters and storytelling into your material, and you have a piece, and so do I, as well as a couple other e-learning experts and members of the Trivantis staff as well.
You know, one of the bad things about storytelling isn't that storytelling is bad. It's that most instructional designers have never been taught to write stories.
Yeah, it's definitely a different process than anything that you go into unless you have some type of literature or English background, for sure.
Right. I always recommend that IDs take an extension course or an online course in screenwriting. Because if you learn how to write for video, then it's not that hard to learn to write for e-learning. And most of it's about developing a storyline, some characters, the narrative of what you want to do with it, and then put it all together. Because if you don't do that, what happens? You don't have much of a story.
Yeah, I think you can take a lot of cues from anything that you're learning during the storyboarding process. There's a lot of things that they like you to keep into consideration when you're talking about objectives and things like that. One of the things that really helped me when I was first starting out is I went out and looked up information about video producing. And so I took a couple courses and things that explained scripting and the different types of ways that you would communicate with your learner And there was a couple conversations in there that where it went into the cinematic aspect. It talked about character development, and that definitely helped as well.
Yeah, so again, back to that, take something in screenwriting or any kind of movie editing, writing, storytelling. There's classes on storytelling. It really makes a difference because in the e-learning world, they teach you, okay, get the who, what, when, where, why, and how, get the facts, but don't really make a story out of it. And it's a little bit different. What's your experience been, Sergey?
I was just thinking that we always use this word storyboarding, where in fact probably 98% of reading, and that's a made-up figure, of course, but in the ballpark, most of e-learning is not about stories at all.
No.
I don't think that many e-learning developers or instructional designers they even consider stories being part of actual creation of media content that they build. They just think in terms of this is the information, this is what learners need to know, so let's just distribute this information across as many slides as we can, and add a quiz at the end. And I think this is the absolutely worst type of learning there is, but it's dominant, unfortunately.
It is, yeah.
So anyone who helps the world become better at storytelling, well done, keep at it. So I'm very glad that Trivances joins into this uphill battle for now.
One of the things that we mentioned a lot in the ebook is actually taking concepts from either high school or college level English, where you're learning about a story arc. One of the pieces that I wrote was adapting that into an e-learning aspect, where instead of you're thinking of your content as this huge long book that needs to be X number of pages or X number of words, you take the generalized concept and you use that arc to kind of flow through your course material. And one of the biggest things that I think a lot of people struggle with when you're talking about storyboarding and not really doing it very well is the conflict needs to be relevant, and the resolutions need to be relevant, and we need to make sure that we're using those examples to the best of our abilities, because if it's relatable, then it'll be kept in the knowledge base, up in your brain somewhere, so that you can apply it later if that situation comes up.
Yeah, and also I see when people try to go into the story mode with their e-learning, they think that just throwing one or two elements is enough. Like, okay, we'll have a character. So on the second slide of the course, or maybe on the first slide of the course, you have a character. Her name is Karen, and she is the she has just become a manager, and she needs to learn the code of conduct for managers in company XYZ. And then they launch right back into information dumping. And they might also think, well, okay, apart from characters, we need like a challenge, for example. So she needs to become better by acquiring 10 stars, and to acquire 10 stars you have to answer 10 questions throughout the course, and there's your gamification aspect right in there as well. So I think there's a lot of token storytelling happening in e-learning as well. It does make courses just fractionally better sometimes,
right?
But generally, to unlock the power of storytelling, you need to have all 5-6 components right in there: the challenge, the resolution, the story arc, the characters. The characters have to be believable and relatable. And I know I haven't read the book yet, so but really, it's like like in cuisine, you have to have all the components in and all the components right for it to work. Otherwise, it just doesn't go there.
I remember having one of our instructional designers. He was a good friend, and he was very creative, and he would come up with 10 characters for the story. And then this is an e-learning story, if you will. And then when we're done, he writes the story, and there's 10 characters referred to. It's like, here's this and that and this one and this one and this, and then he uses one. It's like, what happened to all the other characters? Oh, I don't know. What happened? You didn't put them in. So that's another thing that happens quite a bit. And I've seen this in more than one case. They'll call out a lot of characters because at the moment they pop in their heads and go, this is cool. Now I've got 6 characters. but then they never refer to them again. And people go, what happened to those 4? That's consistency. That's what in script writing, people are always looking for consistency. Are you using the characters you're calling out? Are you referring to them? Are they dead? Are they disappeared? Have they dematerialized? What's going on?
They will be back in the sequel.
Yeah, then they'll be in the sequel. That's right. We're introducing them now, but wait for it, part 2. But it's funny.
I call that the Lord of the Rings effect, or the Star Wars effect, where you just start bringing in too much stuff. It's e-learning. Yes, paint a picture of where you are, but you don't need to give a map like J.R. Tolkien did, or you don't need to, have all of these planets like George Lucas did as well.
Yep.
So it's a lot of conscious decision about scaling back. I think in the ebook, in one of the sections that was written, it talked about having an antagonist and a protagonist.
Right.
And there's no need for anybody else.
No.
As long as you can have those conversations back and forth, you might have somebody who's an audience or an upper level person in management that needs to, resound another point of view. But for the most part, it's supposed to be simple and concrete and get to the point, and also be somewhat fun or entertaining if at all possible.
Yep.
And one of the really great examples that I seen of that was when we did a branch track contest. We had an individual who had created a course, and he put humor in it, and it worked so well. So humor is definitely a big part in playing on those emotions. One of the sections is all about emotions as well. Really humanizing it and giving it that person-to-person aspect.
And the problem is, unfortunately, humor, in 22 years of actually focused on e-learning, we've only been allowed to do humor with one client and over a whole mess of OSHA pieces that we did. Most people don't want any humor at all because everybody's so sensitive. We can't hurt anybody's feelings. And people are crazy. They won't laugh at things anymore. It's like, no, I don't think that's funny. I think that insults me. It's like, no. Speaking of which, by the way, we lost the best insulting comedian ever in the world. I love this guy, Don Rickles. He passed away last week, and he was known as the king of mean or whatever. And he made fun of everyone, but he did it in a way that nobody really ever got insulted. And today he probably wouldn't have been successful, but back then it was absolutely hilarious. But that is something we have to be careful with. Many companies will not do humor. They're terrified of it. Lawsuits, other issues, complaints, and it can happen. And so that's one thing you just have to be a little careful with on humor. I'd love to use humor in pieces, but the problem is we tried a couple of times and they no, get it out. That's almost funny. You can't have funny. Okay. Which kind of negates the whole idea of making e-learning engaging.
Corporate world sometimes goes too
far.
Too far, and we had this discussion with a customer once about shades of the color of the skin of the character, and they had a whole committee with a Pantone palette where they were choosing the color tones for all the characters, and I was like, well, isn't it a little bit racist what you're doing right now? And they're like, no, this is the opposite. We want to avoid that. And I'm like, okay, fine. Well, you just tell us the code and we'll color it. So.
Yeah.
But it does get ridiculous, especially when a lot of people get together and nobody wants to actually step up and decide something or allow something,
right?
Or kind of dare to do anything interesting. And that's the first humor killer.
And you make a good point, Sergey, because when you talk about racism is actually worrying about colors. We should not. We should be colorblind. That would be a lot better. But of course, that's a racist comment nowadays. It's like, no, everybody's everybody. Why do we have to go back to the old song by Sly and the Family Stone? Everyday people. It's all about what are the lyrics? Something like, this one makes fun of the fat one for being such a skinny one, for being such a black one, for being such a white one. And it's, you can't stop. Everybody's dividing themselves. And that's another problem with e-learning, that when you can't write things, we actually have one client that counts the number of hands and their colors on the course. It's like, really? He goes, yeah, there were only this number of black hands and this number of Asian hands, and we need more this hand. And I was just going, really? You're actually going to count hands? okay.
Asian hands, really.
Yeah, and you know, it was crazy. And I said, well, okay, if you're going to count hands, then you are over-representing most of the people you're counting. And then they said, oh, shut up, forget about it, don't worry about it, just do your thing. Because we're not doing it based on population counts. We're doing it on what's politically correct, or what's, you know, how everyone should be perfectly balanced out. And it's just crazy. I mean, people are people. I think as long as we keep looking at everyone's whatever, any element of them, then we're not looking at people, we're looking at adjectives. You know, are you a person, or are you an element of your person? No, it's an adjective. We're defining things of a person, the objects, of the properties of the object, not the object. Anyway, that's ranting.
Yeah, but realistically, this is a huge thing for storytelling. You know, you start writing. Well, I think it's one of the reasons why people don't adopt the storytelling methods in e-learning. Not the major one, probably, but you know, one of because if you are just passing along information, you took the information from the field manual and you put it on slides, and you edit the quiz, and there goes your e-learning module. It's the safe route, and people in corporate prefer the safe route, and people outside of corporate, like e-learning vendors, you know, production companies like I used to run, they also prefer safe routes, because, you know, safe routes mean, you know, safe for business. But storytelling means taking risks in a way. Like, you know, any good good media production, any good story, any good movie, anything, you know, it means, you know, taking a risk and kind of daring to tell something, to do something, to be prepared that your story will not be liked by everyone and so on. But this is what makes it lively and engaging. This is what people buy into, and people just kind of shy away from that a little bit. So I know. Do you think that's true at all, or is it just me?
I definitely can see that as well, getting hung up on the little aspects of it. I can understand if you're working in an organization where people are wearing specific things, or they're needing to make it, if changing the character into something relatable is going to help with your story, then I'm all for it. But making it so that you're having to represent every single last person at your organization, that to me, you end up with these situations. Like, I worked in an organization where there was conversations and arguments about how are we going to successfully represent an angry customer without putting a stigma to the person's face that we would be placing within the course.
Right.
This is a random stock image. And so it's getting to the point where we need to definitely keep things into consideration, but not get hung up on the little details. Representing, you know, a bad employee or a angry customer, as long as you are not sitting there and taking a literal snapshot of someone and putting it into your e-learning course, then what does it really matter? You know, as long as we're getting that point across of how to make the situation better with that employee or with that customer.
What we did once in building a course about how this customer corporation helps the world and different community groups. So we've created, I think, a series, like 5 short stories, and each story had a major character. They were all related, you know. There was like a father of the family, and, you know, the mother of the family, and, you know, 2 little kids and so on. And then we actually did the casting session for these characters in the actual corporation, and we made a call, and everyone was invited to kind of apply. And first of all, they voiced the characters, and second of all, they kind of the characters borrowed the likeness of their prototypes, but they were cartoony characters, so you could really see the resemblance, but, you know, it wasn't really putting the stigma onto the person. So I think that was a rather clever trick, but it produced a very unexpected effect. It's that everyone who participated in the process, and all their co-workers and all the branches of that company, they were so so eagerly waiting for the course to actually be launched, that it was the best promo for the things. So we only got like 5 people involved into the making, but there were like 5,000 people waiting for the course to drop and actually take a look at that and say, hey, this is that guy. This character does look like that guy. He sounds like him, or he was voiced by him, and so on. And people were really engaged into that thing. So. It's also a very powerful medium when there is real likeness and resemblance. And also there was a 6th character in those stories which was very much resemblant of the CEO. He was not voiced by the CEO of the company, but you could really guess. And we really went out on a limb and just inserted him there. And then people were asking us like, hey, is that him? And we said, well, we don't know. There are many people with glasses. There are many people that look like that. Well, he might be, he might not be. We have no comment. But everyone knew.
I think the casting call is a really great point to make, that you can use those internal people that are theater geeks or enjoy public speaking or, have broadcasting background or general interest in video producing or podcasting. And then to use those resources, it really gives you the ability to, keep the cost down. But then there are also other examples in which having somebody that can do the production, like I don't want to say better, but with more experience and more capabilities than what you could possibly do in-house are going to be a good option for you as well. Same goes for stock images. There's nothing keeping you from taking stock images of people at your organization. All you really need to do is have either a green screen or somebody with enough knowledge to be able to take a background out.
And one of the key things here is, and we're both talking about bringing people in from within a company. We've done a lot of corporate videos where we've done exactly that. We bring people in from a company and they're team building exercises. So not only are they doing the video, but they're learning how to work together. They're learning how in one day they're going to create, first of all, they in one day they write their scripts. Then we come out and then they do their video shoot. And it's a lot of fun. And they learn a ton about working together and about building a stronger team. And we've actually put humor in those. So they put humor in them. We didn't have to. They did. They wrote the scripts. We just helped direct and film them. And it was a lot of fun. And I think we did about 10 of those. And then they would have a competition every year to see who won. So one of them would win for the best video. And we were pretty lucky out of about, we did 7 of those. And of the 7, I think we won 5 of them. So we're pretty happy. But that just means we had good employees who could act. They knew what they were doing better than some of the other employees in other teams who were nervous in front of the camera or didn't feel comfy. So it was a lot of that was just how natural can you be, how much fun can you have, and how well do you keep to the story that you're trying to tell. And it is powerful because you get people involved in building that, and now they have a vested interest in making that become popular, become learned by other people because they worked hard for it. And so those are all little things that make the story come to life. And then again, the acceptance of the story becomes more real when it's someone that you're actually working with, and they recognize the people, and it makes them happy. It makes them feel like, hey, I'm part of that team. So now, Sergey, when you had the people on those teams, did they feel the same things? Did they feel like they were part of that whole project, different from just being a bystander on the project?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very engaging experience for those people, and it's a very welcome change of pace for them as well, because your typical job does not involve voicing cartoon characters or video production or anything. I think I was in one of the conferences where someone was presenting a campaign that they did. They actually crowdsourced video production to everyone in the company. Today you can take an iPhone or pretty much any, even cheap smartphones. They do decent videos, they do decent sound recording, and if you don't need any special skills to do that. So they asked the employees of the company to share their best kind of productivity hacks and tips and tricks. And they submitted those videos, and they created a clip out of those videos for them to share. But it was, again, there's a huge viral kind of power in that. you may be involved like 5 or 10% of the whole employee base into the production process, but then 50 or 60% will hear about that and will be waiting for the final result, and people will be talking about that. There will be much more interest as compared to another e-learning course that's added to the LMS or something.
Yeah. Now, Jennifer, what kind of feedback have you gotten on the ebooks in general, but also on this storytelling ebook in particular?
The ebooks are usually pretty well received for everything that we've been writing so far, which is great. We are always trying to pick topics that are going to be relevant and interesting. So we did e-learning 101 and the storytelling. There's one about mobile learning. So really trying to hit those hot topics. As far as the storytelling ebook goes, I think it's just got a lot of great information, and it's not coming from just one source. It's coming from multiple sources, so you can kind of get an understanding of how this is relevant across the whole entire market.
Oh, that's great. So, are you presenting at the LUC?
I'm actually going to be doing the pre-conference training for the intermediate course, so if you're signed up for that, I will be your instructor. If you're not already, come see me. And then I am doing a lightning talk, and I'll be definitely floating around, going to as many presentations as I can. I usually help out marketing with any of the setup or takedown, and going to the sessions to be able to write recaps on them and things like that.
That sounds great. So you're going to do the intermediate Lectora?
Yes.
Training?
Yep.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it's always nice to do the intermediate because it's usually people who already have an invested interest in Lectora, so they're already eager to learn, and we touch on some really good topics like some more advanced actions, and we get really nitty-gritty into variables as well.
That's great. Yeah, that's where the power lies. There's some good stuff in that.
Yeah, I always am really struggling when I do the training sessions to not do a haul when we talk about them, because you end up getting a lot of capabilities out of the system and a lot of functionality that can take regular courses into more of an advanced situation where you might feel comfortable adding the storytelling aspect in. Knowing all of the different tips and tricks that you can use when you're going through and putting your course together.
That sounds great. And Sergey, what are you? You're presenting too, aren't you?
Yes, I'm talking. I actually have 2 talks. One of them is lightning talk on branching scenarios. So it's a short session. Everyone is presenting the branch track product as part of Lectora Inspire. And we'll have our own little table there talking about branch tracks. So we will not do a big session, just a short session on branching scenarios and how to build them and why they work. It's also related to storytelling, in fact. And I will also do a bigger session on minimalist design. It's something that I've talked in one of the Inspire Wednesdays like 4 years ago or 3 years ago, and it was really, really well received. So I will do an updated version for the LUC. Live version as well, and we'll talk about how you can improve and make more effective your e-learning production process by actually removing elements from it rather than adding elements to it. And it's a quite radical approach, and I've been around the world with this talk, and it's always very well received. So I'm really looking forward to sharing with the LEC attendees about minimalist design and minimalist learning.
That sounds great. Well, Jennifer, anything you want to close up with?
No, just if you haven't had a chance already, go ahead and download the ebook and read it at your leisure. It's a good Friday activity. And then if you can join us for the Lectora user conference, please do.
Was that a pun? Because it is actually Good Friday.
Oh, no, I didn't even think about that.
When you said that, I went, it is Good Friday today. That's funny.
Unintentional funny.
That's great. Well, anyway, appreciate both of you.
In the show.
Yep. I appreciate both of you coming on, and they'll both be at the Lectora. Actually, all 3 of us are going to be at the Lectora user conference. So if you want to meet any of us, we will be there, and everybody will be accessible. It's a great conference, by the way. I know Sergey and I had our first one last year, and it was fun. I think we all had a good time. Jennifer, how many have you gone to?
Last year was my first one too.
Oh, you too?
Yeah.
My God,
So
3
even though
newbies
I
all
was a
at once.
developer for many years before that, it was the first opportunity where I was actually able to go. So it was great.
It was
Great.
fun. It was a lot of fun. You really get to meet a lot of good people, and not only the people here who are our guests, but also people like John Blackman will be there. He's brilliant. He's always fun to learn, and when you meet him, you'll go, he's brilliant. He's so normal. I mean, because he's got a great sense of humor. He's energetic. He's not your typical software developer, and or really more of a software architect. But he's great. Him and a lot of the other folks are going too. So you'll get to meet a lot of the staff, and I think have a great time. So we look forward to seeing you there. That's only 2 more weeks from now, about 2.5 weeks from now, and should be a lot of fun. Cincinnati. I've never been to Cincinnati other than drive through twice. So we're going to get to see it, and it looked pretty from the freeway. Just we were seeing it. It's a pretty robust downtown, and there's rivers that run through it. Stephanie Ivek was on last week telling us about the city, and it really looks pretty. Sounds pretty.
There's a lot of things that you can do there. They've written up a couple blog posts about it, so if you're curious, you can see. We're going to be doing some activities with the Cincinnati Reds. If you want to go ahead and join in with us, and there's lots of good places to eat downtown. Really pretty square, so definitely a lot of pull to be in that area, and hopefully everybody's going to enjoy it.
Yeah, and the Hyatt Hotel, I've been told, is gorgeous. They've remodeled it recently. It's very pretty, and it should be a nice experience for everyone.
I'm excited about the pool.
Yeah, it should be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing both of you guys there, too. So,
Yeah, same here.
if you're watching the show, please subscribe, give us feedback, send us ideas, what you'd like to hear or talk about, and we will see you next week on Lectora Live. And in 2 weeks, we'll see you live. Actually, we'll be streaming live from the show again, so we'll be seeing you probably a whole mess of times in about 2 weeks. Have a good one, everyone. Thanks a lot, and enjoy Good Friday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.